10 or so, we'll get started for our Facebook Live this week.
We obviously have some background noise here in Palmyra's press box. We're actually in Monroe City's coach's box right now. We'll be broadcasting in the room over, so the pregame music will be playing. We'll try to talk loud enough for you guys to hear us.
All right, so welcome to Facebook Live, sponsored by CW's. We want to thank CW's for their support. Last week they sponsored us with some help for the game day, and they are going to be the sponsors going forward. Just a great supporter of Monroe City Athletics. Go get a nice fleece like we are sporting tonight. So thank you, CW's, and they will be our sponsor the rest of the way for the football season, Facebook Live. So we'll start off, we'll talk about the game last week. Clark County came in as the hottest team in the area. I think they were either number 1 or number 2 in Dewar's power poll. Dewar picked them to win, and I think that was the general consensus after how hot Clark County had been, that they were going to be the better team, and that's not what happened. Keenan Batzel, Zach Osborne and company rack up 570 yards of offense, 321 yards for Batzel, 191 for Zach Osborne, and just a big game. And yeah, I see the mayor be on his way for the Mayor's Cup tonight, so another special thing to add to this rivalry. But not Clark County, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, obviously I wasn't able to be there. I was traveling back from Oklahoma, so thanks to Jeremy Moss for filling in and doing a great job on the Facebook Live and the broadcast. But obviously listening to you guys on the way back, it was evident that our offensive line really is rolling right now. Did a great job opening up holes, and Keenan is just seeing those holes so well, and we're really he is just showcasing these last few weeks just how athletic he is for being as big a kid as he is, and he's a workout warrior, and his speed is deceiving because he's so big, and he took what could have been 10-yard gains and made them 55-yard touchdown runs.
That's something we talked about even at the beginning of the year. It's a different element than Pennywell, and not to take anything away from Pennywell, because he was a conference player of the year, or the state player of the year, but it's just a different type of running style. You got a Keenan Batzel, 190 pounds, that is on a 4x1 state track relay that finished, I think second or third in the state with Blake Hayes, Zach Osborne, CE, some of those guys involved. I mean, you're talking about one of the fastest kids in the state lining up at fullback, and then you get the benefit of probably as fast as a kid in pads as you're going to see in Zach Osborne being right next to him. And we talked about the offensive line. The offensive line was Chris Dewar's player of the week this week. We had spread the love a little bit. I mean, the easy pick would have been, the offensive line who we've been named player of the week before on the radio, or one of the other options. But we went with the defensive backfield that was one of the best defensive back performances that we've seen in quite a while. You have Brunt coming in red hot as a quarterback, 6 for 22 throwing the ball.
Okay, that's fine.
And I think I don't know if I have it with me, I think we had 11 pass breakups and an interception in the game. It's just very impressive, just showcasing the athletes in a lot of man-to-man, which we haven't run a ton of man-to-man, but we were almost exclusively man-to-man last week, and they just completely outperformed the Clark County receivers and just frustrated run. They were played extremely, extremely good football.
Yeah, it was definitely evident in the broadcast, and then checking out the highlights on YouTube, that our defensive backfield just really came with a mission, and we're well deserving of that player of the game. Again, we're here in the Monroe City coaches press box, so they might be setting up behind us here, the headsets and so forth, as we prepare for the rivalry game, the Mayor's Cup tonight. And it's a great venue here, and we'll get more to that game here in a little bit. But just to wrap up Clark County, great win, big game tonight, but more likely than not, you're going to see at least one of these teams again, and potentially there's scenarios that you could see them again, both teams, Clark and Palmyra again. So
that's right, and we'll get into more of this game, but I will promise, I don't know if Aaron's watching, I almost guarantee we're going to have more red zone opportunities night than last week. Just one red zone, 40 plus points. The only time we got in the red zone was when we started working our JV guys on offense and we get inside the 20. You know, just the home run threat, you know, you may not see that on this field with a team that is going to be more sold out to probably prevent that. You may see more ground and pound, but just, you know, something to think about. We'll get more game analysis as we get going.
And of course, join us at 6:40 for pregame on 107.5 The Lake, and we'll definitely be talking all things Mayor's Cup.
All right, so to transition, we did have, you know, we're going to do a wrap. We've talked about the softball team every Facebook Live, and unfortunately the softball team season ends last Saturday to a Highland team that hit the ball extremely well, found every hole, but, you know, a great year for the Monroe City softball team. They go 16-4. You know, loses the district championship, but they get a share of the CCC for the first time since 2000. 2 years ago, they won the district championship. Just a great career for these seniors, and we do have a lot to look forward to in this softball team.
Yeah, and, you know, Michael and I had a chance to go down and take in the district softball game against the Highland Lady Cougars, and, you know, they were high, and, you know, you just got to give credit where credit's due. You know, Highland just hit the ball that night where we weren't, and, you know, we just weren't able to get some runs around. But it doesn't take anything away from the careers, the season, and then the careers of the four seniors. Rachel Smith, primarily catcher, went on to Missouri S&T. Mac West, her battery mate, pitching, going to go on to Truman State. Skylar Cobble, shortstop, going on to Columbia College. And then Savannah Hetzler, who played right field and has been a staple at that position the last couple of years. So a legacy that they've left behind, and really, you know, our softball team has just enjoyed watching, our community has enjoyed watching our softball team. Those four seniors have been great leaders. They're great student athletes and great representatives of Monroe City. And we wish those four seniors the best of luck moving forward into college. And like Michael said, the covers, you know, a lot of young talent coming up.
We're just looking forward, you know, for next year. You're going to have Lauren Youngblood's probably going to be your staple, almost 500 hitter this year. You know, probably going to have a position change. You know, probably going to be a shortstop, third baseman next year. You're going to have Riley Quinn, that's probably going to move into the pitcher circle next year as a sophomore, you know, upcoming junior. You'll have Bailey Hayes, who will probably move behind the plate to be the catcher. But then you have Carly Youngblood, you have Mackenzie Moss, you have Madeline Meyer, you have a lot of people that Danielle Fonner will return to first base. You're going to have a lot of people that return, and there's just going to be a lot of talent, you know, not just next year, but going forward. This is going to be a Monroe City softball team that's going to be competitive going forward. And I do want to mention, I was able to message with Coach Chin, and she just said, you know, a couple things about the team. Said it's one of the most fun group of girls that she's ever coached. Just talked about how hard they work. They held each other accountable. They held each other to a high standard and themselves to a high standard. She mentioned that 3 of the seniors, Skylar, Rachel, and Mac, all over 100 hits, which is an amazing number. And, you know, she said she'd like to, you know, she wishes she could have the seniors one more year, but she wishes them a lot of success. And I know, you know, not just in softball, they're all great, you know, great role models for the kids, and they're all going to be successful in their life going forward. So.
Yeah, so great season softball. We enjoyed following you, and, you know, we look forward to the future and we'll see what it holds for the Lady Panthers. And, you know, here in a couple weeks, you know, we'll transition a little bit of our talk to the other sports that'll be coming up, basketball in particular for our girls and boys. So, you know, look forward to some basketball talk here in a couple weeks. Let's do the mayor of Huntington. What do you think?
All right, so Brad, I did see that you're watching, so hello, Brad. But we do have the weekly Mayor of Huntington Class 2 poll. So the poll this week, number 1, as it has been every week, Lamar, as we say every week, they have the longest winning streak in the country. Now, I will say that winning streak is in danger tonight. They have Cassville, a higher class ranked team. This is going to be probably the closest game they're going to have until the state playoffs. Going to be interesting to see what that game is, just for the, you know, chance of the nation's longest winning streak going down. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes. They're number 1. Number 2, Lutheran North, who, when we first started this was 3-3. Now they're all of a sudden they're 5-3, and they're getting into teams more their size, and they're going to be a force, probably as talented as a team as you're going to see in Class 2. Probably more talented than Lamar. It's just going to be whether or not they can come together as a team and make a run. Number 3, Blair Oaks, as I mentioned last week. Blair Oaks people are telling me this is the best team Blair Oaks has ever had, and that's saying something for the last 15, 20-year stretch that they've had at Blair Oaks. So they're number 3. Lathrop remains number 4, and we'll get to Lawson and Lexington. Those are all kind of teams that Macon will be seeing in district. So it'll be interesting to see how our CCC foe and potential CCC champion will fare going out west and playing those teams. So Lathrop 4, number 5. Monroe City at 7-1 moves up 1 spot to 5. Lawson at 7-1 moves up 1 spot to 6. Number 7, Ava at 7-1 from down south. They were unranked. They were one of the receiving votes for Brad last week, so they're up to 7. Number 8, Lexington up 1 spot. They're 7-1. Number 9, South Callaway up 1 spot to 7-1. They'll be in Blair Oaks District. And number 10, Clark County at 6-2 drops down from number 5 to number 10. So those are our Mayor of Huntington rankings. So any thoughts? And we're going to have some time. We'll be talking about the game, but feel free if you got questions. We'll try to answer them as we go. So
make it interactive as possible. Nice top 10 there from Brad. Hard to argue with any of that. Those top. Lathrop maybe is a little outlier right now at number 4. Maybe they played some smaller schools and some Class 2 schools where some of the other teams have played up. But
Bacon's not ranked. Bacon could very easily be ranked. Palmyra could probably easily be ranked.
We're going to take all of our CCC guys, teams. We feel very confident. So both teams are getting fired up out there. If you can hear them in the background, both teams are in a huddle right now. It's a great venue here. I mean, you got to give credit where credit's due, and I'm not gonna ever say that our venue is any less than anybody else's, because it's not. It's just top notch with the new facility we have. But this is just a harken back to the old school days.
And I know there's a lot of talk in Palmyra about getting a new field, and I understand it, but there is something special about having the tradition like this. So, I can see both sides, but this is, there's just something about coming to Palmyra, the cars parked on the other side, everybody else on the hill over here, the Palmyra fans behind Monroe City's bench. It's quite the venue, and it's
and we will say, the field is dry, but there are a ton of bare spots. If we get a little bit of moisture in the air, the field is going to get tore up. It's already tore up. Could play a factor. I would like to think it would benefit us more with the ground and pound game that we have. But again, we'll talk more about that here in a little bit. But we kind of wanted to do the top Monroe City Palmyra games that we could kind of think of and remember, and got some feedback on Twitter, got some feedback on Facebook.
All right, so we got a top 5, and I'm sure we're missing some. I can tell you, I'm sure Ryan would like to have, a couple of games he played. I'd like to have our, 34-7 victory over Palmyra after they had predicted a 3, that they were going to win the 3rd year in a row. I'd like to have that on there, but not on there. So we went with 5. And again, we don't, we're only going back to the mid-90s, and I know we're like 1994 would be one that should probably be on there. It's not. But that was, the mid-90s is when the stretch of Monroe City Palmyra just blew up. That's when we had the entire field surrounded, and that's kind of where we went back to. I know somebody mentioned that we had some great games in the 70s, early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. And if you're watching and you want to, talk about it, put it on there. We were not born or very, very young during those times. We don't have the insight to really go into detail on those, but here's our 5. I put them in order. You can probably take 1 through 5, or 1 through probably another 4 or 5, and draw out a hat and get the same one. But number 5, we're going to go back to 2009. And this is always kind of going to be known as the Sean
Maloney game.
Sean Maloney, bum leg. Ryan, I'm going to let Ryan talk about it more. He coached at that time, but 11 of 12, 257 yards, 2 touchdowns in a very close victory over Palmyra.
So back in 2009, we had the 4-team districts. We played every team at the end of the schedule. So the week before, we played a very tough South Shelby team. Ended up pulling out a victory, and Sean goes down with a bum knee, and we really don't think we have him for Palmyra. It's hurting. He's on the sideline dressed out, and we're struggling a little bit offensively, getting anything going. And we said, Sean, can you go? And his parents were good with it. And he comes in, and as Michael said, the young man goes 11 for 12 throwing, 257 yards, leads us on 2 scoring drives, and we win 14-7. And if you remember the name Jonathan Nutt, that was the quarterback for the Palmyra Panthers. Excellent basketball player, but it was a great
football player.
Great quarterback too. So we were up against a tough matchup, and we're trying to make the playoffs, and he got. I mean, I still don't know how he did it, and I love coaching that young man. Works for the St. Louis Cardinals now, does great things. So just a great representative of Monroe City, and just again, I think that will forever go down as the Sean Maloney game. 2009, 14-7 with 11 for 12, 257, and 2 scoring drives.
All right, so we're going to go to number 4. We're going to go all the way back to last year, and we'll call this the wide left game. Florida State, Miami used to always have, the wide right multiple times. This will be the wide left game. Monroe City wins 22-20 in a game where they get up, and they're up, I believe,
9 points with
22. Yeah, they're up
2 something minutes left.
Yeah, so 22-13. Palmyra scores. Onside kick, gets the ball back, and one of the better kickers you're going to see in this area that we've seen in a long, long time, Noah Menser, who already had 2 field goals in the game, 40-plus yard field goal. This is wide left, but it's just a great game between 2 great teams, and it was a catalyst for this Monroe City team to get them going, and as we know, ends up being a state championship.
Yeah, it was a great atmosphere, and just you hate for that young man, but just happy for the Monroe City faithful and that victory. And as you said, that just, I think, gave that team that much more confidence going in. That was a Class 2 school. We were a Class 1 school. It put us undefeated in the regular season, CCC champions outright. And now we go down to the lesser class, or to the lower class, and took care of business as we saw, running off 6 more wins and culminating in that state championship over Valley Catholic.
All right, so number 3, we wanted to throw some love, I guess, to Palmyra as much as we don't want to. So number 3 goes back to my junior year. Palmyra wins 21-20 in a game where Monroe City, I would have to say, was a huge underdog. We had injuries throughout our backfield. I think at one point we were only playing 1 or 2 seniors. Palmyra came in undefeated, I believe, or maybe lost 1 game to South Shelby. And they ended up going to the Final Four that year, but they come out, Palmyra comes out and hits a home run. They run the option, and Marty Smizer, who's a coach at Palmyra now, breaks an 80-yard touchdown run on the option as a keeper. We focus on the fullback and the pitch man. He breaks one, and then they get another touchdown, and Monroe City we battled back. Probably, if I had to say, it was the catalyst to the Kyle Watson of my senior year. Kyle was fantastic that game. Hits Kurt Mays late in the game, and I just don't remember. I think it was under a minute when we scored. So he hits Kurt Mays on a deep pass to score. So we're down 21-20. We go for 2. Kyle rolls out, throws it to Josh Dowell, senior. I don't remember if it tipped or it hit his hands. Goes incomplete, but we were going for the win. We knew that we were just, we were young and we were beat up, and we wanted to try to win it in regulation. Doesn't go our way, but again, I think for as bad as, you hate losing to Palmyra, and that was the second straight loss for my group. Palmyra, it was a catalyst for us because so many underclassmen played in that game. And, we use that as, motivation, and, I think it's part of the reason we came up here and beat them 34-7 the next year, motivation because they beat us last year. So that's number 3. Number 2, we're going to go to 2002, and the Jared Bixel miraculous, the Monroe City Miracle catch. So in that game,
I'm coaching in this one too. I'm student teaching, and Coach Lab allows me to assist with the team and help out and get some experience with him. And it was just an absolute slugfest the entire game. And we're down late. And Brenda,
watch this later. We were talking about Sean.
Great kid, great game back in the day in 2009. So number 2, and then so go ahead, Michael.
So we were trying to figure out the score, and no one can quite remember what the score was, but it was 12-7, I believe. Toby O'Sheltry, who was a great receiver early in the year, has to come back and play quarterback after Tim Anderson goes down with an injury. And late in the game, we're down. He throws a pass into quadruple coverage. There's absolutely no way Monroe City's coming up with this football. Somehow, Jared Bixel comes out with it, spins, and daylight. And we've talked about him, one of the great players in Monroe City history, breaks it 92 yards, and I think it's on 3rd or 4th down, too. It's just kind of a Hail Mary,
it was a Monroe miracle. So. And earlier in that game, I think our other touchdown, Bixel actually threw it on a halfback pass to O'Sheltry on a halfback pass throwback back to the quarterback O'Sheltry. So they actually reverse roles. And again, it was quadruple coverage. I mean, there's no way that Jared should have caught this ball. Ends up in his hands, and he runs it 92 yards. I mean, it was a crazy.
Crowd goes crazy. A couple of the players probably should have gotten unsportsmanlike conducts for their actions. I won't say names, Huntington, but so it was just a great win. And number 1, I'll let Ryan talk a lot about that because he's involved. We're going to go back to 96. What a lot of people have talked about, probably one of the greatest runs in the playoffs, just great game after great game. So we played Palmyra at 96 in the regular season. We have some guys miss the game. We lose that game pretty handily, I think.
By 21, yeah.
And then, so that was back in the time where in the playoffs you would play the regular season, and then we play Palmyra in the playoffs as well, not in our district. So,
and actually not even in the sectional game, the quarterfinal game.
So we played Palmyra in the quarterfinals game. I'll let Ryan kind of describe it.
Yeah, so we came over here in 96, the quarterfinal game. They beat us by 21. Previously in the year, and again, just another slugfest, just back and forth. The defenses really stepped up. We probably honestly had like 500 total yards of offense, but we had so many penalties called on us. It was such a block in the box,
downfield,
just so frustrating. Just big play after big play getting called back. Richard Comstock with big long runs or a pass or whatever.
And Palmyra has that's a great Palmyra team. Grant Thornburg and company. I know Grant had a couple big runs in that game too. But
so end of the game, in the 4th quarter, Palmyra's driving, actually throws a pass down here, and Lamont White, who we've talked about, strips the ball, recovers the fumble in the same motion. So we've got the ball 1st and 10 from our own 5.
Yeah.
Now have to go 95 yards. We end up scoring, going 95 yards, call a timeout. Coach Lab comes in the huddle, and it's like, let's do it. Let's go for 2. And a Monroe City team in the Coach Lab era comes out in a shotgun formation, actually, to run a 2-point conversion. And I'm looking at the spot right now. I'll never forget it, right here in this end zone that goes towards that old softball, baseball field, and roll out to the right and find Lamont White in the back of the end zone. He gets a couple feet down, and then he dances all the way down
our sideline.
It was just so fun. The stand, the crowd was amazing.
Monroe crowd, a lot of them end up on the field after the game. A couple of them got to get emotional maybe a little bit. So.
And Palmyra, we had to stop them on defense, so credit to our defense. And they run a fumble rooski to Travis Arch, who's one of Palmyra's greatest players ever, just an absolute stud linebacker. Run a fumble rooski to him, and Matt Long and Richard Comstock follow him, make the tackle. We take a couple knees. just a phenomenal game. You know, like you mentioned, your all senior was awesome because there was so much talk, and you come down here and you just dominate them. The 94 teams, the state championship team, played Palmyra twice, and actually Palmyra kept it close when they were overmatched, you know. And there's been some games recently in recent history that had some close.
Like 2 years ago, you know, Logan Benner scoring a late touchdown to kind of seal the deal there. That was a close one, and you know, there's just been a lot, especially, you know, we saw Neil Miner put some stats on the Mayor Cup. There's been a lot of close games in the Mayor Cup too, and that goes back to 2004. Monroe City 8-6 in the Mayor Cup era. So that's our thoughts. Anybody, you know, we don't have a whole lot of time, but if anyone wants to throw in, I know. You know, we could go on forever about this, but you know, those are just the ones that we came in mind. You know,
and you know, again, we always do this for fun. We're not, you know, we want to keep it positive. We do want to encourage everybody. We didn't talk a lot about this game tonight because we're going to be on the radio here in about 10 minutes, in about 13 minutes. 107.5 The Lake. You can tune us in on the radio or the TuneIn app. You know, we'll be talking all things Monroe City-Palmyra in the pregame.
Right. And, you know, so we're getting ready to sign off. You know, the game that, you know, keep us in mind, you know, we can kind of go through the games. There's kind of some interesting games in the conference. South at Highland, I think South is rolling, but you got a Highland team that, you know, won their first game. They'll come out, you know, playing cards. I think, you know, they're probably going to think South is a competitive game. Rockwood 300 yards last week. Brookfield at Clark. It'd be interesting to see how Clark bounces back after the loss to Monroe. Because you know, you got a Clark team that's been told how great they are for a long time. Monroe hit them in the mouth. And you got a Brookfield team that isn't great, but they will hit you in the mouth defensively. So it's going to be interesting to see how Clark does. And the one that we're trying to keep an eye on, Centralia make it the big favorite in that game. But Centralia has been playing the best football they have all year. Just blew out West Hancock. If Centralia wins, if we beat Palmyra, we win the conference outright. So that'd be 2 back-to-back outright CCC championships.
And if Megan wins and we win, of course, we are co-champions.
So keep us, you know, again, Ryan's cell phone, send, you know, we'll try to follow as much as we can, but certainly if you know the scores, call Ryan or send Ryan a text. I will be on my phone through for the radio call, so I won't be able to check, but should be a fun one tonight. You know, it does not get better than Monroe City-Palmyra. Again, we could have talked forever about just the atmosphere, and it's going to be a good one. So we will be on the radio at 6:40. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Again, thank you, CW's. CW's, again, our sponsor. We appreciate it, and, you know, go support.
Go get your gear at CW's. Thank you.
All right. Take care.